Do screen share.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop out and try to get back in. Maybe I missed a setting. I'll be right back.
Maybe just share.
Same thing we've done all along.
Don't I have to click on it first? Right here.
Share, view, present.
I can hear somebody talking.
We are live on Facebook.
Yep. Is everyone here? Oh, there's Doug. Okay. All right. Oh, it's after 6:30. I'm not muted, right? Okay. If we have everyone's here, what's that light, Randy? You got
Chris, what's going on?
How are you, man?
Good. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Everybody doing well?
Yeah, you?
Yeah. Getting eaten out of house and home, but
We do have a gavel tonight. So if we're ready to go, I think we have everyone here, right? Okay,
Ed, where's your flag?
right behind me. That is, I'm in the boardroom.
All right.
I have a flag too. Ed, you good?
Oh. Yeah, I was saying I started out in my office, but the flag was too tall for the ceiling, so I came in here. All right, so why don't we get going if we're ready? All right. Wow. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Before we get started, I just want to, again, for the public who's out there, we have, once again, are having our second Zoom board meeting. And so what I'd like to do, and I'll try to do this alphabetically best I can. I think we should all introduce ourselves. I could mention names and then you can introduce yourself. So Sarah, I think you're at the beginning.
Hi, this is Sarah Ballinger, counselor.
Randy,
Randy Capriati, Code Enforcement Officer.
Chief,
Mike Kroll, Police Chief, Town of Manlius.
Rob. Oh, you're on mute, Rob. There you go. You're still, now you're, all right, there's Rob, he's on mute, okay,
There we go, we got it.
okay. And Elaine,
Elaine Denton, Town Councilor.
all right, John,
John Deere, Town Councilor.
all right, Tim,
Petrovsky, Town Attorney.
okay, Karen,
Karen Green, Deputy Supervisor.
Caitlin,
Caitlin Creaswell, Town Councilor.
Doug,
Miller, engineer.
and
Anu, Town Manager.
at the above Town Supervisor, Allison.
Allison Weber, Town Clerk.
I sorry, I jumped over Heather. Got my.
Meet the other Allison. Heather Waters, Town Councilor.
Okay, and we have two guests tonight or three for the board, for the public hearing. If you want to introduce yourselves, I think we have Scott.
Scott Dumas. There should be one more, another Scott joining soon.
Two Scotts. We have Scott Freeman there too.
Scott Freeman, Project Landscape Architect.
Okay,
Chris Danaher, attorney partner at Hancock Estabrook.
very good. All right, well, I think that's everyone. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. And so I want to start right out with the item 2, which is approval of the minutes of March 25th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 25th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, item 3, we have abstract number 8.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd move to approve abstract number 8.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Before we get to the public hearing, I would like to read a proclamation today. It has been exactly 50 years ago today, April 22nd, 1970, that we had our first Earth Day. And it was also, I went back and looked at the history, it was also on a Wednesday. And so I have a proclamation for that. And it's very interesting because it was 50 years ago. And I was a senior in high school. So that's how, yes, someone said I looked old. So there you go. But I want to read the proclamation to everyone on the Earth Day proclamation. Whereas humankind is currently facing global challenges affecting many communities, including large-scale migration, inequality and poverty, degradation of ecosystems, some extinction of species, and global climate change. And whereas the youth of the world are our most valuable resource and represent a source of endless creativity and potential. And whereas expanding environmental education and climate literacy is vital to enhance awareness about the environment, inform decision-making, and protect future generations. And whereas it is understood that sustainability will only be achieved by meeting the needs of the present without compromising the needs of future generations. And whereas Earth Day is an annual reminder of the constant need for environmental awareness, stewardship commitments, and sustainability efforts. And whereas April 22nd, 2020 is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. Now, therefore, I, Edmund J. Theobald, Town of Manlius Supervisor, have the distinct honor of proclaiming April 22nd, 2020 as Earth Day in the Town of Manlius and encourage all of its residents, businesses, and institutions to use Earth Day to celebrate the Earth and promote environmental literacy. Dated this 22nd day of April, 2020. And yay. Now, just so we do need, here's a proclamation. So far, I'm the only one that's been able to sign it. So the board, at some point, you'll come in as we get able to come in the town hall, and we'll put in this nice plaque too, so that it'll be nicely presented and put on our wall at a nice location. I don't think we need a resolution to accept that or anything, or a motion to accept that, right, Tim? No, I think so. Just acknowledge it. Who would have thought? I never would have thought 50 years ago I'd be doing this 50 years today. So, all right, with that, we're going to move right along. And we have, it's a little after 6:35, but we'll move right along. It's the public hearing on stop signs on Quarterhouse Run, Straw Mound Trail, and Harness Hook Lane. You all have the documents and you have the photos. I'm going to ask Rob just to give us an overview before we open it up to the board for questions, and then before we open it up for the public hearing. So Rob, you want to give us an overview of this?
First of all, good evening, everyone. As you may recall, I believe the board late last fall, we dedicated that, I believe, sections 3, 4, and 5 of that Megden Farm subdivision, which included the Quarter Horse Run, Straw Mount Trail, that last section, Straw Mount Trail, and Harness Hook Lane. So typically in the past, what we've done, once these subdivisions get to a point, where they're mostly built out, we go back and we review the actual signage in the subdivision to determine whether it's safe for the traveling public. So I've had a conversation with the chief. We've kind of looked things over there. There are 3 unprotected intersections in the subdivision in those new areas. One being on Quarter Horse Run at Straw Mount, one at Harness Hook Lane at Quarter Horse Run, and I believe there's one at Quarter Horse and the other side of Straw Mount. And if you got a copy of the map there in front of you, you can see we kind of highlighted. We kind of highlighted where those are. Tim, I'm assuming we have to dedicate those signs separately. We would have to have a motion to do those signs separately, I think. But that's kind of the gist of it. Where we typically do this, like I said, once the subdivisions are built out.
And I know we've talked about this seemed like months ago now, but so before, Tim, did you want to respond on that of what Rob said?
Well, we have a local law that's before the board to install these stop signs at the intersections that the superintendent discussed. So we can ultimately, we'll hold a public hearing, and ultimately we can then make a decision on whether or not we want to pass that local law.
Okay. So again, before we open it up to the public hearing, I'd like to, or the public, I'd like to know if the board has any questions, comments, anything you'd like to state regarding the stop signs or the resolution. Okay, if not, I'll need a motion to waive the reading of the public notice.
This is Sarah. I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, now I need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Happy to second it. Did Allison, did you have something to ask?
Oh,
Yes, and I'm kind of operating Command Central here, so hopefully I didn't miss this, but did John explain yet how the public comment is going to work?
well, before we started, he did, but.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure.
We weren't all there, so maybe, John, you can give a quick overview of that again?
Yeah, sure. So for everyone tuning in, there's a couple different ways for us to get your comments. The first one will be if you are in Zoom, there is a Q&A function. Basically, you can write us a question. We will see that. We'll be able to answer it, and we'll mark it as answered so that everyone knows it was answered. Also, watching our Facebook comments. This is going to Facebook Live. And I believe if you are dialing in on the phone, you should be able to hit *9. That may or may not be working. And that's really the nuts and bolts of how we're hoping this works.
So, John, is this going to be
in general? The Q&A feature is the best way to do it, or through.
You're cutting in and out, John.
Is everyone else hearing John's reception being pretty
bad?
Yeah. You froze, John. I guess my question is there going to be
last time?
will there be written questions and verbal comments? You're coming and going there.
So I can kind of explain, and because I've been working with John on this, and I think I have the gist of it.
If someone has...
Yeah, John, let's let Allison finish this up because you're really, it's.
Go for it.
Go ahead, Allison.
There's a Q&A feature that everyone can use. I'm monitoring that at the bottom of the screen. I've also got our Facebook page open as well. They could even call into the office. I'm physically in the office right now at 315-637-3521. And it is my understanding that I know this was kind of mentioned earlier, but we were talking about leaving the public hearing open until next time, just to kind of allow feedback for comments and things like that.
Oh, okay. So we won't close the.
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll just leave it open to allow more time for comment.
All right. Okay. So is anyone out there in the public who can follow those directions that Allison and John gave? If you have any comments or questions, please respond now. I don't know if there'd be a delay or not, Allison.
Oh, yeah, point of reference, there is a delay between what we're hearing and what the people watching on Facebook are hearing.
Oh, okay, good. Yep.
So there is a brief, like, Allison just stopped talking now on Facebook.
Yeah, it's like what, 10 to 15 seconds or so delay, I think, between what
Okay.
we're saying. And then if you look at Facebook, it's all just like 10 to 15 seconds behind.
How many seconds, Caitlin? About 7 seconds, like a radio thing?
It's like 10 to 15. It's pretty distinct delay.
All right. Well, we'll sit tight here for a few minutes. And again, we're keeping it open. So if anybody has any other questions, they can always reach out to us
So what we would normally do is we'd vote to close the hearing, but we're
Yeah.
not gonna do that. When are we gonna close it and how will we close
Yeah,
it?
because then we would vote on it.
Right. So we'll have, will it stay open for 2 weeks or?
Yes, at the end of the meeting, you'll, of course, and Tim can explain this too. So, but at the end of the meeting, you'll just adjourn until next time and leave it open. And then next meeting, you could close it.
Okay, then why don't we do that? We haven't received any replies yet or comments.
Nelson, just a quick note too. I believe when the letters were sent out, I think there was a copy of that map that went alongside of that. This showed where the stop signs, because I could sit here and explain exactly where they are in direction, but I think it's easier just to see it on that map.
Sure. The map was not included in the letters because the copy did not render very well from the copy machine, but it has been posted on our agenda and it is also included, it is also available on our website.
And I just wanted to make a note too that we've had several calls over the winter and actually late last fall on those stop signs. The residents that live in the area have got concerns, obviously, because they weren't marked as an actual stop. They're just a unprotected intersection at this point.
Okay. So Tim, do we adjourn again to May 13th, or what do we do?
Well, if there's no public comment at this point, I think you can adjourn the public hearing until May 13th. Invite the public to comment between now and then, either in writing or by email, or we'll do this again. We'll open the public hearing again on the 13th of May, and they can feel free to participate, as both Allison and John has said. But at this point, since we don't appear to have any public comments, motion to adjourn the public hearing to May 13th at 6:35 would be appropriate.
Okay, then why don't we do that?
Before we
Yes,
do that,
Heather.
do you think we could explain what we did to reach out to the public that was different this time based on these circumstances?
Sure, Allison?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do in a normal public hearing process, when we're able to all meet in person, is the town board will direct me to send letters to the public. And basically we drop a pin in whatever the location of the project is. And then we send letters within 1,000 feet. In the case of the stop sign public hearing, we went to everybody who was on the streets that the stop sign was proposed for. We got a list from the assessment office, and I sent them all a letter explaining that we couldn't meet in person, that we were going to be holding this meeting virtually, how they could obtain instructions to get to the meeting, and then where they could get further information, and then of course my contact information in case they had any questions.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so did we make the motion in term, or we didn't do adjourn yet? Okay,
I will make a motion to adjourn the hearing until May 13th.
Then do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very good. All right, so our next item 5, initial presentation. Now that you guys have a pretty good idea of what we just went through for the presentation, we're going to ask you, whoever wants to make the overview of the regarding the zone change request on 5538 North Burdick Street, RA to RM, and that is tax map number 086.-02-07.1. So before we open the public hearing, I'm just asking for either of you, anyone who wants to make a presentation.
I'm going to get it started, and then I'll introduce Chris and Scott. So first,
just-
thank you.
Allison has something going on.
I need to make a point of clarification.
Yes.
This is not a public hearing. This is initial presentation.
Oh, it is.
So,
Oh,
and then just so that, to Heather's point of before, we also mailed everybody within 1,000 feet of this presentation to let them know that this presentation was taking place and how they could gain information on that. But this has not been scheduled for any type of public hearing. This is
Okay.
the first time the town board is hearing this matter.
yeah.
And so, you know, we'll follow the normal zone change process after this, depending on
yeah.
what Tim says. So,
Thank you for clarifying that, Allison.
Sorry.
I was jumping ahead a little bit, sorry. So Scott, if you want to go ahead and start it out, and then we'll let
Thank you.
guys do your thing.
Thank you. Thanks, Allison. First, thank you, everybody, for your attention this evening, especially given these crazy, unprecedented times. Yesterday's normal would have included face-to-face meetings and presentations, like we all prefer. And the current normal includes you all sitting at home or a few in the office, watching our live presentations, me from my home in Fayetteville, right in the village. Whatever tomorrow's normal looks like, we look forward to working with you all on it. A little on the client. This is a local group of young doctors with a growing medical practice. This is not a big national company, but folks who currently live and work here in our community. Currently operating in a space owned and neglected by an out-of-state landlord. The landlord's proven unwilling to make necessary repairs to the space, restricting not just their growth, but day-to-day safety operations. These issues, and due to this, there are significant concerns. The landlord learns their plans. I'll therefore be acting as owner's rep for this project. In terms of a current project status, the land is currently under contract and pending approvals. Due diligence is underway, including surveys, which should have an updated survey in the package. If not, Chris has one. Phase 1, geotech and the like. Our team includes Kristen Danaher, who will be taking over as soon as I'm done speaking, Scott Freeman from KFA, and VIP Structures as a design builder architect. The schedule, we're looking to get this open April to May of 2021. Open with the town and planning board assistance, of course, although there is currently snow on the ground outside my window, disturbingly. It is nearing the end of April. And we have a hard deadline of August to get started on work, primarily because I have a late spring hard delivery date, which can't be pushed due to the current pandemic. With the town and planning board assistance, we'd be looking to start site work as soon as we can, fit out in the winter for that spring opening. The client, as I mentioned, it's a young group of doctors. They're smart, they're environmentally conscious doctors who appreciate the green space. Big part of the reason they chose this site is its natural beauty, the views the site offers from the road, and the proposed building site for employees and patients. More importantly, they're pretty smart design, sustainability. They wanted to not affect the natural grading. They see across the street a very large retaining wall, and they're looking to avoid that same style design. So now I'll turn it over to Kristen Danaher. Chris?
Yep, I'm coming.
Thanks, I hear you.
So just say you need to screen share.
I need to screen share, that's all. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you open that up, Allison?
Yep, give me 1 second.
Okay.
So this is when you walk up to the tripod and you try to get all your papers and everything to stay up.
Give it a try again.
Yep, I got it now. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as Scott mentioned, I'm Chris Danaher and I'm with Hancock Esbrook, a partner at the law firm. We're here tonight with the proposed zone change from RA to RM for 5538 North Burdick Street. As Scott mentioned, our client is under contract. The 5538 in Burdick LLC is a contract vendee. But we also had the owner of the property sign the application to confirm their authorization and approval for us to proceed forward with the application for the zone change. Just so you guys have our information, my card is up there, as well as Scott Dumas's information at Mark Barney Management, and then Scott Freeman at Landscape Architects, Keplinger Freeman Landscape Architects. So we're here tonight to discuss this parcel that I've identified on the tax map before you. I put 4 red arrows around it. It's essentially a 4.24 acre parcel of land. It has a single family residence on it, pretty dilapidated. The property backs up to the Erie Canal on North Burdick Street. I thought it would be helpful for everyone here to better understand the site and the surrounding area by providing a video of the area. So I'm going to start that, and then I'll walk through where we are. Essentially, the video starts south on North Burdick Street at the light at North Medical, and then it proceeds north along North Burdick Street. As you see on the left or the west is the retirement facility, and on the east is what is the Fietta property with the ponds and just natural vegetation. As you continue north, continues with vegetation on the east, and then the retirement community on your left. And then if you continue straight, the property will start to curve, but if you went straight, it would dead end right into our property, and there's our property in the house. And then if you continue down, you would continue down to the light on North Burdick Street where it meets up near the Erie Canal. And on the left, I just like to note, as you probably know, the topography is such on the west of North Burdick that really no development can be done on the west side. And then on the east side, other than our property before the light, is another single family residence. So as for the zoning for this property, right now, as you know, our property is RA, but I thought I would just summarize in a northerly direction from North Burdick Street, starting at Coles, what we have from a zoning perspective. So we have the dealerships and Amerique on our left, proceeding north from Coles, and they're zoned commercial A. And then on the east, we have the what I call the Fietta property with the ponds, and that's zoned RM up near the road. And then in the rear, down below the road is where the ponds are, is RA and R1. And then as you continue along North Burdick on the west side, we have the retirement community, and we also have North Medical, which are both zoned RA. And then of course you have the houses up in the north near North Burdick or North Medical that are zoned RA. And then of course, after the Fietta property, continuing north on the east side of North Burdick Street is our property, which we're seeking to rezone on. And then one final property, as I mentioned earlier, beyond our property, a single family residence. So what we're trying to do is, again, accomplish a zone change from RA to RM. Our client's use of the property falls right within the parameters, essentially a professional office. Obviously, the zoning is more specific, but regardless, our client's proposed use would fall right within the RM district, which I've highlighted on the code before you tonight. The other thing I'd like to point out is the purpose and the intent of the RM zone. And the RM zone's purpose is to provide that transition between a residential character neighborhood and non-residential. And changing this zone for this property, I think, falls right within what this purpose of this provision is, which is to provide that transition point based on the zoning I gave you earlier, to provide for that transition between residential and non-residential, and really a soft use that backs up to the Erie Canal. And then obviously we have one residential unit on our side that remains, but would be a transition as well, probably in the future to an RM district. Finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about the site plan. When I first started out practicing law, I remember I went to a partner who had me do a zone change for him, and I was just starting out, and he said to me, "Chris, if the board asks you about the site plan, don't get into the site plan, because you're asking for a zone change and it should stand on its own merits." And as you can imagine, that didn't go over too well with the board. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to understand that sharing a site plan and a zone change is imperative. It's imperative to give you guys an understanding of what we're trying to do in connection with the zone change. Obviously, it will have a more intensive review as we go through the site plan process, but it benefits for a really good developed site to share that now. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of our basic drawings, and then Scott Freeman will jump in with a little more detailed review, understanding that we'll get into even more detail as we go hopefully through the site plan process. But what I wanted to provide you is just a general site plan, our initial drawing, and we've gotten some feedback, and Scott will incorporate that in a few minutes, but you can get a general idea of the layout of the proposed building and the parking as it relates to North Burdick Street by the drawing I have up for you tonight. Then I just wanted to share with you a setback, essentially showing you site distances to the site based on a further or backup view from the previous site plan I gave you. But with that, I'll let Scott get a little more meat and detail into the site plan, and then he can discuss that with you. But if you have any questions regarding the zoning, we can certainly circle around with that and after Scott's done. So Scott Freeman, you want to go ahead with the site plan?
You're on mute. There you go.
Allison, you might need approval too.
Can you see my screen? Allison, can you see? Okay.
We can see it, but you're echoing.
Excuse me?
If you're not talking, everyone's going to be on mute. Someone's screen is echoing that feedback.
Okay, so yeah, this is the existing site. Thought Chris did a great job presenting it. When we developed this site, we're pretty much, this is high, this is low. The building's going to be somewhere in the middle. The building will be probably 5 to 8 feet lower than the road. The low spot's back here by the canal. So I think I'm going to just get right into the proposed plan. I guess the goal is for the building to be oriented to be visible from both directions of traffic traveling along Burdick. As I stated, the parking is located between the building and the road. It's 5 feet below the road. So what's nice about that, when you're driving here, you'll be looking over the parking lot and the building will become more prominent. And you know, we do have some plantings here, but the intent is to have a visible site. Architecturally, this building is, as Scott Dumas mentioned, is under design right now by VIP Architects. This is a 10,000 square foot single story building with a 10,000 or 5,000 square foot walkout. The lower level is designed for mechanical and is unfinished. So it's a 10,000 square foot building. One of the first things I like to start off with on the site is egress. We've been in touch with the county preliminarily, and we provided a site distance plan and provided a survey and site distances. And we also had Gordon Stansberry with GTS Consulting write a memo stating that this was a safe access point. The county has preliminarily reviewed this and agreed that this is a good location for the driveway. As we get into the site, the doctors here have a multi-doctor practice here. For a 10,000 square foot building, in the parking chart, it would require 64 spaces. Because they have a lot of people coming in and out. This parking lot is 98 spaces, so we exceed the parking. The zoning and development criteria for the RM rezone, there's no variances being asked for. Everything here at our preliminary level meets the RM zoning, so we're happy with that, including I don't show the setbacks, but we are beyond the perimeter setbacks of the property for the building. We don't have the lighting yet, but we do understand the town is sensitive to, and all towns are sensitive in communities to proper lighting. It will be dark sky compliant, and the design intent is to have lights within the parking lot, access drive, and probably some wall packs along the building face. Storm drainage, this is high, this is low. Here's the Erie Canal. We just received our second set of percolation test pits today, and the soils are well draining. Being an office where there'll be people and children, we're happy to report that this detention basin, as required by New York State DEC, will be an infiltration basin, which means that during large storm events, it'll fill up with water and then infiltrate and drain away into the soils. So we think that's a plus for the site. Sanitary, there is again, this is high, this is low. This is something that's going to require some coordination with you, Doug. We have a collection point here. We'll probably have a force main, bring it up to our property limits, put in a manhole, and then either by gravity or force main, work something out within the right of way to connect to the manhole that's by the I think it's the shopping center intersection over there. It's a traffic light, there's a manhole. So that's something needs a little more coordination. Gas and electric are available in the right of way. We have not made contact with National Grid, but the utilities exists. Water, same thing. The water does exist here. That's something that would require coordination. A monument entry sign, it's a little early for that, but we're going to do whatever it takes to make that a compliant sign with the RM code. And then we get into some of the little site features, maybe just a little bit how this would work. You would drive in. If someone had disabilities, they could park here right by the front door. Or if somebody had special needs, you can drop them off. They could walk right in. You could park and then look for a parking space and then pick the person up again, loop around and leave. So it's a pretty efficient parking lot. We've also provided tree islands to introduce some green and break up that parking lot. We tried to keep fewer spaces along the road and just add a little extra green between the road and the parking lot. That's probably 5-6 foot grade change there. Trash, waste and recycling, got to have it. So we just put it at the far portion of the site. You pull in, pull out, and leave. We probably be a 6 foot privacy fence with some landscaping. We can work on the details later. The building is still in a state of flux, but Scott Dumas had several Zoom meetings, and we're really look forward to showing the board what this thing is going to look like in three dimensions. It's really coming along. It's something, but I'll speak a little bit about it. One of the things that everybody loves about the site is the lot of windows on the back, and with the canal and the natural environment back here. Once we get this detention basin dug in, we're going to naturalize it, and it's just going to be a great fit, nice buffer between the building and the canal. As we go forward, we look forward to, as Scott said, with the zone change, hopefully things go well and smooth for that. But the first step with our due diligence is we'd like to get into a meeting with you folks and submit this to the county, get additional comments, and then work our way through the planning board. So I don't know unless you had anything else, Scott, Chris, I think we've done a lot of legwork in a short period of time. We're happy with the plan. We hope you are too.
Thank you. That was a good presentation. I know that Scott had presented that to Tim. I forget who was in it seems so long ago now. I did have one question. Can you remind me about those other structures that are the neighborly houses there? Are those you own, or they will be? How's that?
Scott Dumas is in the process of having those removed. So that's why we showed them in red. Those will be removed.
And there's another two houses that go towards the light, the traffic light.
One here.
Yeah, will that be on the same property, or is that going to also be? Does anyone live in those? I guess that's my question.
No. So the first one is vacant and under contract by the seller of this land. And the one that is down towards the end also has some tarps. I'm not sure. It appears that someone may be living in it.
So any idea about that one, what your plans are, or not anything at this point?
No, nothing with our project. It's vacant and under contract with the current seller of our property.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions?
Clarify, Ed. So the person that you are buying the property from is trying to buy the vacant house next door?
Correct.
Okay, that's weird.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the idea with the lighting you're concerned with, and I mean, I'm very familiar with that area. A lot of us are, we travel it all the time. I know that my first concern, of course, was the traffic light being nearby, but it looks like you've reached out to the county on the egress and so on, that's not going to be an issue with the traffic.
Yeah, they were quite concerned, and we were too. We stood out there on the corner because we tried to get the midpoint between the two lights. And what we do with the county is we give them an aerial photograph, and we do a ground taping of the site distances, and we sent that to the county. And Fenskin, I forget the gentleman's name at the county, he said, I'd feel a lot better about this if you resubmitted this with the survey and had your traffic engineer weigh in on it. So what we did was we got rid of the aerial photograph, and we actually used this survey, and we went out and did another measurement with the traffic engineer, Gordon Stansberry, and he put all his measurements on the plan, and then we resubmitted it to the county, and the county came back and thanked us for a thorough job and stated that the driveway would in fact work. So I mean, he says preliminarily there's still permits involved, but the point is that's one of the most important parts for the rest of the project to work. And he gave us a strong indicator that he'd give us a final approval, pending, the whole review process. So yeah, that's a critical thing though.
And I know in the RM zone, there's always a concern with the structure and that it looks, not like a business necessarily, but sort of fits in, looks like, like on Route 5, they all look, their houses, they have, structures that look residential. Is that going to be somewhat, do you have any outline of what that looks like, or any?
Well, I can
take that.
Thanks,
So one of the initial designs was to do a flat roof, but we realized with the elevation and the apartment structures above, 20, 30 feet above that retaining wall, they'd be looking down at equipment. So we changed gears, went with a slope roof. There'll be a slope roof with some dormers, windows in the dormers. It'll look more of a neighborhood structure than a corporation, absolutely.
I have a couple questions, Ed, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the just one kind of background question maybe for my town board here. The ponds that are there, the bodies of water, what are those exactly? They're just natural ponds that people can go visit? Like what are
Do you
those?
mean the ones over off from Burdick? Across
here?
from-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What are those? What are those
Nope.
bodies of water
Those are all quarries, they're old quarry sites, I believe.
that are just filled with water?
Yes.
The elevation change is roughly 30 to 40 feet from the property line to the water.
So that's a pretty significant decrease that quick, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty substantial slope, yes.
And who owns those? Who owns that water?
It's Fieta.
Yeah, that's all owned by Fieta.
I think so.
And it's not used for anything. It's just, they just sit there. I mean, they're not very appealing to look at when you drive by. I've always wondered what they were.
Caitlin, it's Tim. There's been several proposed developments of the Fieta property that have not, they've gotten certain approvals, but they never really came to the development stage because it's a difficult engineering project on those properties.
Yeah.
So they had tried to incorporate residential around the ponds, and because of the gravel nature of it, it became very difficult to do from an engineering standpoint.
Okay. So they're just sitting there. They've been sitting there, and any attempt to make them more attractive or useful hasn't worked.
Correct.
And looking at, I've got my iPad here and I'm looking at the map. Are we familiar enough with what the Village of Fayetteville is doing and the land that they've recently acquired along Limestone Creek and connecting to the Erie Canal? Where is that? It's, this is, I guess, one of the downsides of a Zoom meeting. I can't just show you what I'm looking at, but if I were to reference that, is that
Caitlin, are you talking about the projects that they put the 6 phases together along the canal? The village?
I know that they just got, I don't know, you can't see my iPad. They just, it's just gonna look like a bright white light. But along the creek and in the village, they acquired more and more property back behind all those houses, heading along Limestone Creek and heading towards the Erie Canal. And I'm just wondering if this will all be on the other side of those ponds. But there was talk of trying to connect some trail work from what they're doing in the Village of Fayetteville over to Burdick, and then crossing Burdick. And I just wondered if any of those plans were near where this proposal.
Caitlin, I think they are actually, based on I mean, there might be a bit of a gap, but from what I remember we've seen, yeah, I have a question about I have a follow-up question based on what you're asking about.
So where I'm trying to get to, and Heather, maybe this is your thought process too, your train of thought is, could we integrate some trail work or some of the natural infrastructure with the Erie Canal being right there, and with what the Village of Fayetteville is doing? Is there the opportunity to work together to make this a somewhat appealing asset to the community in general? If there was interest from the village in putting this together, one of the things that we've been considering in our conversations about the comprehensive plan that we're planning to undergo next year is looking at opportunities like this. So if we're proposing something, especially on such a attractive piece of property right next to the Erie Canal, how can that be integrated with trail work, especially with it being so close to what I know the Village of Fayetteville is trying to do?
I think that's a great question, Caitlin. And across the street at the Resort Lifestyle, we incorporated trails along there. So I think it would be the same thing was going through my mind. I think we could incorporate the trail that goes by Resort Lifestyle that also goes behind the Alzheimer's facility, and it could connect down here to go across this property to get down to the Erie Canal. I think that'd be a great concept here.
I think one of the things that I was thinking about too is getting to have your appointment at this facility. If we're thinking about transportation, we're thinking about it's very car centric right now. It's not easy to walk there from the village. So if you had a way to connect and ride your bike or walk from the village or from Manoa along the canal and then somehow get over to the building that also connects you in a pretty safe way to get a little bit closer to town center. So, I mean, thinking beyond compliance here about the zoning, knowing that we're going to be looking, when you look at the description of the zone, I don't know many stenography firms that that will be coming into the town. You know, like the descriptions are pretty old school, and we're going to be looking at how to update them. And so if we're looking at a project, certainly, you know, what I'm hearing just sounds compliant with the zone change based on the spirit of the zoning law as it is, but we really want to be in a different space very soon, which would encourage also solar, geothermal, the access points for biking, and having connections for electric vehicles. So, you know, right now, there's no mandate for that and it's not required, but I think that
we are heading.
Yeah, I think it could go a long way if it's something that, you know, and also if I think from a business standpoint, if the clients of yours are really interested in also making quite a strong impression on the community about their commitment to the community, I think something like that could be really, you know, it'd be really exciting. So yeah, I have a cat that has now invaded our town board meeting. Apologies. But
you know, I'm sure that Scott and Scott and Chris, you could always go back to the, you mentioned the doctors are very environmentally concerned about things. I mean, our focus here, of course, is the zone change for this particular project, and those are outskirt ideas that I think we can certainly work on, because you're combining village and town with private property here. And so we, you know, that's you know, that's good conversation. I think, first of all, I think this is an excellent location for something like this. You have a big wall in front of you, so it's not going to be bothering anybody, you know, with lights, and you have a canal behind you. And if you make it very environmentally attractive, I think that would certainly fit the bill. And we can look at those other options with trails, as Doug mentioned, and Caitlin, and the you know, the sustainability ideas behind this whole project can tie in with that.
I would love.
And I am wondering about any commitments that were made to any of the residential living folks across the way about that property. I would assume that nobody thought that it was going to stay in its current form forever, but I would want to check in and understand, and if anybody knows, because one of the things that we got into with a Brolex conversation that we had recently was that there had been expectations amongst the people living next, you know, across the way that were, or on near the property, that were different. So just to understand that would be helpful.
Yeah, and I think you're comparing a development now too with I just muted myself. A development, and that's what the other reason, Heather, that I asked about the neighborly houses, how they would be affected by this too. That was my reasoning behind asking about that.
I have a couple comments. I know that you said the property next to this does have RM currently there. Does anyone know how that one big property, how does that have multiple zones? I'm just curious.
Elaine, Tim Ferteschi. My recollection is that there was a multi-use proposed for that property, which included neighborhood shopping. It included residential mixed use for offices, professional offices, and then a residential development behind the around the lakes, around the ponds. So that was the zoning was changed to accommodate that project, which never took place.
Okay.
Actually, I did that project, and that Tim's absolutely correct. And then Amerique decided to go across the street, and then the transaction never proceeded forward on the ponds property.
Okay, thank you. And then, so I am concerned about the neighbors next to this one right now, because they're surrounded by houses. And then because of the property is so it's right on the Erie Canal. I am concerned to have a lot of commercial character to disrupt that asset that we have in the town. Although I've been hearing your proposal and I see that you are taking in consideration that really nice location. Do you know how you're going to, take care of the Erie Canal side? Like, I know you've got the stormwater drain here, but is there kind of like anything else? Is there going to be a barrier so the canal walkers don't, like right now, I think you see a lot of trees.
I can take that, Scott. So the goal, and we just got these numbers in for drainage, so a change was just made to that. But the goal is to not affect the perimeter, the natural boundary that is that property. So along the back of that, it's a beautiful walk onto this property, but there's probably 20 to some odd feet of thick shrubs that blocks the view of what is currently the back of that house and the back of that land. Our intention is to not go as far back with that storm system and to leave that untouched.
Okay. And there's also a lot of trees there too. But I like that you're incorporating trees in the parking lot, and I'm always happy to see more trees. So, and then the other thing is, so I'm always looking at the town as a whole, and you mentioned, right, like if we potentially change the zoning, the next property may change as well. And we're in the process of hopefully doing the work and the research and to develop our comprehensive land use plan. We currently don't have one, and it makes these decisions a little hard to really see the town as a whole. We want to make sure that residents have a say in the plan of their town. Currently, we're missing that plan, and that would definitely better guide us when proposals like this do come and are presented. So, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you have a copy of the master plan with the walkways and the trails that so we could present it to our team and respond a little more clearly with in regards to connections to the community? Is there a document that shows those walkways that's available?
You have something with
No, the Erie Canal plan is probably the only one, and then how it intersects with the village, right, Caitlin? And right, Colleen?
We could get you a document that's somewhat informal that indicates where there are existing trails that we're hoping to make official maintained trails in the near future. I can work with the chair of the Parks Department in the village if they're able to get that to you. I also just saw a comment from our colleague Chris Carrick at the Regional Planning Board. He commented in the Zoom here, and he said that the CNYRPDB would be interested in helping your client to investigate sustainability opportunities through NYSERDA. So if you're interested, I could connect you with him as well, because he's an expert on all of these different opportunities and could certainly help your client to explore what's available and what grant opportunities might exist that could help to support these types of initiatives that we're looking to include.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
What happens when you don't have an open podium night? We have to.
This is Sarah.
Emails and texts.
Randy may have raised his hand to speak.
Who did?
He did. Randy, if he did that intentionally, he raised his hand to speak.
Okay, Al? Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yep.
Go ahead, Randy.
Okay, the property where the two houses are, we've received probably 5-6 calls in the last 4 weeks that they want to do a subdivision on that because that currently technically is one property. It's not two properties. Lisa and I did some research and found that it was divided years ago when they built the houses, but no paperwork was actually filed. So it currently looks like that there's two houses on one lot. That's not two separate lots for those two separate houses. It's one lot. Is that something?
Which
Is
lot
that something
this one?
that you guys are going to take care of in a subdivision and take the
No.
one house off first?
No, the property that is outlined in this, it is the property that we are developing. Those two, I recognize what you mean. They're actually on one parcel. It's completely separate from this.
Perfect. Perfect. So the only one house that's affected is the one at the top corner.
Right here.
Correct.
Yep. Perfect.
It's a house and a series of sheds. That's what's highlighted.
Yeah.
House, the shed. This is a separate parcel.
But
Perfect.
somebody's living in this house.
In the one on this property, we believe so, yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to make just one comment. I think I'm ready to say that, you know, I'm supportive of this. I think we have to have a public hearing. But I just wanted to follow up in terms of your roof line. You were planning to put the air conditioners and so forth undercover in the design of the building? Correct.
They would be hidden, whether it's along on grade or hidden somewhere in the slope roof. Yeah, the initial intention was a flat roof. When we realized the elevation and the sight lines, we decided to do a slope roof with dormers.
Okay, so that would be really my only, in terms of RM, you know, we want to maintain that appearance of quasi, I mean, a 10,000 square foot sort of McMansion residential style.
That's a good idea, Sarah. I was concerned with that too. So I think.
Just for a point of reference, you probably have your ground mounted transformer here on the site. It's not been designed or located, you know, grid might put it here, grid might put it here. We don't know where it's going to go, but the point is it'll be landscape screened, and there'll probably be air conditioner units and other ground mounted utilities that we can be sensitive to screening. This plan is just this building footprint was born 3 days ago. So we're working through it, and we're just getting into the utilities, and we'll, you know, certainly share and be sensitive to screening and views.
I just had one more question. You said like the doctors would be using the whole building, or?
Yes, the whole building is for their practice. The first floor, 10,000 square feet.
Okay.
Then this side of the site would have a basement and mechanicals. The nature of the slope is it's high here, it's low here, so we wanted to take advantage of the sloping topography and put a lot of the mechanicals right in the basement, so we don't eat into very valuable first floor space.
Okay.
So for the next step, do we schedule a public hearing? Is that the next
I was
step?
just going to ask. Yeah, very good.
No, the next step typically would be to refer this to the planning board if it's something that the town board is interested in doing. And in other words, there's some validity to this project. So we would usually send it to the planning board for them and get their comments, their thoughts on the zone change itself.
Can we turn off the sharing the screen so I can see everybody again?
Are we done with yeah, I guess we're done with the maps and everything. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so if everyone is interested, I mean, it seems to make sense. Of course, as far as the structures and all that, that would fall under the planning board to make sure they follow the RM zone rules anyway. So we'll need a motion, Tim, to send this to the planning board.
Yeah, for their recommendation.
Okay.
On the zone change.
All right.
So I'll move that. This is Sarah.
Yep.
I'll second. This is Caitlin.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, carried. All right, we're good. Very good. Thank you, guys. Excellent presentation, and I'm sure that if we have any other questions, we can get those to you with your identification, the information you gave us for contact. So
thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, we have item 6, which is the RFP for engineering services for Salt Springs Water District. Tim, did you?
Yeah, this is an RFP that was sent out a couple of weeks ago. We've gotten proposals in. We would, it'd be more appropriate to discuss these in executive session because it might lead to the appointment of a person or corporation on behalf of the town to do some work. So I think we'll go through the rest of the agenda, and then at the end of the agenda, somebody could make a motion to go into executive session to review the various proposals.
Okay, all right, that would make sense. Then we'll move on to the emergency paid sick leave policy, which expires April 30th. I know, Tim, you talked about this at our last board meeting. Can you just give us an overview again of what we need to look into?
Because the governor's executive order says 50% of, you could make a 50% reduction in your staff for non-essential work that's being done at Town Hall. As you know, we have allowed Town Hall employees, both part-time and full-time, to work from home if they are not essential and don't need to be at Town Hall. And we have agreed to pay them while they're at home through the end of this month. We would have to extend that initiative to the next board meeting if the board chooses to do that, if they feel that that is how they want to act. It's really mostly for the part-time employees. And then, as you all know, the governor has extended the order to, I think, May 15th. So it'll be in place till at least May 15th, where we'll be at half staff at Town Hall.
Ed, you're on mute.
I even muted myself. Yeah, so I think we really don't know, Tim. I mean, obviously the county executive after the 30th would he override anything the governor does if we do something? No. So he wouldn't be able to say more people could go back to work that's not essential. It's up to the governor.
That's up to the governor.
So what is it that we're weighing at this time? What's the decision we have to make?
To extend the emergency pay for part-time workers and full-time workers who will be working at home.
This is,
go ahead, Elaine.
This is the same policy we passed last month, just extended, right?
It's extended, and we removed the local emergency declaration also. We've been told that we've done that, not necessary to continue that.
Okay.
I'd like to propose an amendment. Right now, the date in the employee leave policy is May 13th, which is our next meeting. But since we already know the governor's pause regulation goes till the 15th, couldn't we just make it to the 15th? And then if the governor lifts the pause, if that's the end of the pause, then they would just come back to work on the 16th or whatever day thereafter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest to Sarah. I think that would make sense.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, so I would like to amend the emergency employee pay leave policy COVID-19 dated April 22, 2020 to make the effective date May 15th. And with that amendment, move for approval.
Effective date through May 15th.
Correct.
I'd like to second that motion.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Very good. Thank you. The next item, number 8, is the Climate Smart Community Pledge, the resolution. Sarah, did you want to just give us an overview, or Tim? Who wanted to do this?
Caitlin.
I think this is Caitlin's initiative. So.
All right.
Thank you.
I just.
So this is very exciting. I wish we were all together. It's so weird celebrating in my house by myself, but I'll make my kids and my cats and my dog do it with me. It'll be fine. So I am so excited that today is Earth Day. It works out exceptionally well that today is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day and that we're celebrating it in the town. Before we dive into this resolution specifically, I wanted to go over with Sarah and Heather the work that we've been doing this week for Earth Day, because we were able to get a lot together in a pretty short turnaround time. We would have certainly had so much planned for this day had everything not happened as it has over the last several weeks. But we were able to, with a group effort, really come together and get a lot of really great things done. Sustainable Manlius, our brand new committee, has been really, really helpful and supportive. I emailed the whole committee, and there's dozens of people on the committee asking for their ideas and input. What did they think that we could do? How did they think we could celebrate this day and come together as the community safely from our homes? So I'd actually like to turn it over to Councilor Waters. Just going over one of the initiatives that you came up with to highlight our 5 climate or sustainability champions in the town of Manlius.
Thank you, Caitlin. Well, because we have a Sustainable Manlius committee, that means we have co-chairs who we can sort of acknowledge in this moment too. And so, Caitlin, thank you very much. And also, we have Ryan Dunn, who's a younger member of our community that is extremely engaged and is quite a young leader. So I want to thank Ryan Dunn very much for all he's doing with Sustainable Manlius and all the things he's engaged in. And so if you have not already highlighted and saved the Sustainable Bingo card, you should do that, and you have Ryan to thank. But also he's working behind the scenes and on the committee with Caitlin to move our effort forward. I really believe that the sustainability initiatives and the engagement there are going to be a huge leg of our activity and our way to move forward on the comprehensive plan. So thank you for that. So what we did was this is just a smattering. These are fantastic people and initiatives to highlight, but by no means do our sustainability champions that we are highlighting on the Facebook page and on our webpage represent everyone. I'm thinking about, of course, Allison's picture today and her post with her own children picking up trash and also giving a nod to the scouts that she would have been working with today on Earth Day. And we know that so many Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts have been doing tremendous work, all kinds of organizations across the community. We highlighted Circus Ce Soir, which is a brand new restaurant, a farm to table restaurant that has an ethos of reducing waste and also helping people use in non-pandemic times reusable containers of their own to carry meals out. They're fantastic, and we want to make sure that everybody knows about them. They're located really off of at the intersection there of Enders Road and the plaza there. And we have also Ingrid Gonzalez McCurdy, who as a Maxwell School graduate student is working hard to understand electric vehicles in communities and survey our community to make some recommendations for us about where we are and maybe where we could go with supporting and promoting electric vehicle use. We have CCAA, Climate Change Awareness and Action, which has over 2,000 members in the area. And Peter Worth is a fantastic advocate. And maybe some of you read his op-ed in the Syracuse paper and in the Eagle Bulletin. But CCAA are providing a link to a number of films to stream that are really, really interesting around climate change, and they do wonderful work, great organization to get involved with. We also are acknowledging Derek Ziprich and CNY DIRT. And DIRT is actually an acronym that I'm forgetting at the moment, but it's all about maintaining, creating, and engaging people in the use and the maintenance of trails and for mountain biking, kiteboarding, and everything else you would do on a trail. And Derek's partnered, of course, on the trails off of Dukewood Road, and also he's working with Green Lakes on all that acreage that they've just received, and the new trails that will come from the acquisition of that land. He is a great partner with us, and our tree commission, which includes our wonderful leaders, and also we are a tree city for Friday will be Arbor Day officially, and we will be in our 16th year of being a tree city, which is a great accomplishment. And thank you so much to the past leaders for sort of maintaining this kind of excellence in this leadership. And we have partners, including the Onondaga Earth Corps and Bartlett Tree and our colleagues at National Grid, and of course our own highway superintendent, Rob Cushing, that helps to look at our trees as an asset in our community and help us to think big about how we can talk about conservation, tree planting, and education. Finally, I'm really hoping that we will hear from Mayor Brazil. He's going to send me some information because Manoa's water treatment plant is an ecological gem, a rare gem. And we've learned more about water treatment, I think, some of us in the last few months than we ever expected to. And it's a good thing because we have something special to celebrate in our backyard. So
literally in my backyard.
Literally in Ed's backyard, exactly. So we've highlighted those. We're encouraging people to communicate with us, take a picture. Sarah says she's going to take a picture of herself with her, or take a picture of her favorite tree. Maybe she can do a selfie with, we can call them, I don't know, tree selfies. I don't know. It's an evolution of hugging a tree. Now it's selfie with a tree. And, talking, basically expressing why you care about protecting our environment. So that's what we've done. But I would say the one thing we could do better, even in this digital universe, is doing it sooner. But also, I think that working with Peggy and the rec team, that's something that we were a little frenzied. And so I didn't push hard enough to make sure we did. And maybe the Chamber of Commerce. But those are in evaluating and thinking about what we can do. I think that those are important partners going forward for next year. And certainly we were already going to be working with the rec team on our fish talk / tree Arbor Day celebration, but we had to switch back to this digital engagement. So
Heather, thank you so much for all of that. The climate champions or the sustainable Manlius champions, I think are so cool. And I love the idea. I love giving them the opportunity to show off all the work that they do. Like you said, we could have picked 100 other people. Probably half the people whose faces I'm looking at right now are climate champions. So it's just so fun to get the chance to recognize them. And I was thinking too, I was thinking of the chamber last week, but it was just too late to try to pull them in. And we could work with the mayors and with the villages more closely too, to really get us all out there and thinking big about how we can champion environmental sustainability in our community. So now we'll know for next year. Hopefully social distancing will be done by then. We can actually get out there with each other and take some bigger steps. So in working with Heather and with Sarah and with Ryan, who is a student in high school. So really a wonderful young person that's come forward and been instrumentally helpful. Frankly, I don't think we would have been able to do any of this without his help. So Ryan, if you're watching, thank you so much. But Ryan had a brilliant idea to do sustainable bingo. So if you haven't seen the board yet, and that goes for everyone, again, whose faces I'm looking at on the Zoom, please check it out. Look at the different actions that you can do. And if you are not a resident of the town of Manlius, we still invite you to participate. You can be environmentally sustainable no matter where you live. And the first 3 people, right, Heather? The first 3 people will be recognized by the town. First 5, turn off your microphone.
first 3 people who do the 5 actions to create a row.
You're just like miming at me. I'm like trying to get the first 3 people to do 5 actions in a row, right? They have to do a bingo. What will they receive? They'll get something from Ed.
Oh, all right.
They will become, I think Ryan came up with a great name, Sustainable Scholar from the town of Manlius, but they will be definitely lauded with great fanfare.
Wonderful. So if you too want to be lauded, however you say that word, then please get your actions done. Maybe we can make a certificate. We're definitely putting this together last minute. But I will be working on my board tomorrow, and we're going to do this for a week. So you have plenty of time, but I want to see leadership from our board members. I want to see actions from all of you guys. So sustainable bingo, and make sure you're sharing posts online, everyone in the community, with all the hashtags, Sustainable Manlius, Earth Day 2020, and Why I Care. We're encouraging people to chalk your walk, to write a message about why you care about environmental sustainability. So that brings us to one action that we can take as a municipality. That's just so instrumental, so important. The example that we can set and the difference that we can make as a government is huge. And so one of the most powerful things that we can do is to start taking the steps to become a climate smart community. Now, for those of us that aren't very familiar with this initiative, this is through the DEC.
Yep.
And this would allow us to start taking concrete steps to becoming more environmentally sustainable. So the first, it looks like there's 7 pledges that you take, and there's different elements to each one. And the very first one is to adopt the Climate Smart Communities Pledge. So this is the very first step that you take, is the one that we will in fact be doing tonight, which is very, very exciting. And this resolution will allow us to become committed to becoming a climate smart community. The following elements that we would do subsequently are develop a climate action plan, do a greenhouse gas inventory, attempt to reduce our utility bills for our facilities and operations, reduce our energy use in our transportation, low energy policies for communities, which includes green purchasing and other policies that might save energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from our government and from our buildings and such, as well as in the community. The next element is renewable energy. This would likely be achieved by doing something with a community solar array, perhaps on our landfill, which we're exploring doing right now. The next element is a climate smart waste management, information on reducing solid waste. And then the last element is local climate resilience, increasing our local resilience to climate impacts and preparing for climate change hazards, which, as we're seeing with other communities in our region, is really, really important. So by taking the pledge, we are taking the very first step to becoming a leader in our community in fighting climate change, which we all recognize is so critically important. Ed, would you like me to read the resolution?
In a minute. I just had a question.
Yeah.
I might have missed something. Heather, did you say something about about a study for electric vehicles? Did you mention something like that? And
yes, well, Ingrid Gonzalez McCurdy, who had presented to us, remember,
Right.
she's working on that survey right now.
Yeah, so it's an independent thing. It's not anything.
Yeah.
The town is, yeah, I just want to make it clear that this is nothing the town is paying for. This is what she.
Nope. That was just an opportunity, right, expertise in the community. Mhm.
Yeah, from her presentation, and that's pretty much where we gave her the head start. And then we'll have to come up with some award, I guess, that we'll put together for whoever attains all the.
A certificate.
But yes, if you did you as far as the resolution, how did you want to do that, Caitlin?
Well, I guess before I do that, does anyone have any questions on what we're about to do or what it means to be a climate smart community? Go ahead.
I have one. What's sort of required? Is this sort of how many? What kind of teeth does this sort of thing really have? What's required of us?
So, what kind of teeth does it have? What do you mean?
Like, is it just for show or sort of? I mean, it's obviously it's a good guide for us because we were endeavoring to do these sorts of things anyway. So it's nice to be aligned with something that's on a roadmap that other municipalities are doing. But I think I was reading through it, and I think we were talking about it. Maybe Sarah, you had a thought about what the requirements would be for us to kind of enact, take the next step and work with this, or report back to the DEC that we're acting on the pledge.
Well, I'm happy to report that Chris Carrick is paying attention, and that he says there does not obligate the town to anything. And when I read it, the thing I noted was that essentially we needed to form a task force, and that the Sustainable Manlius has already been formed and would be that task force. So there really is no additional step that is required at this time. We would just be alert for opportunities which might save energy and money for the town.
I might be able to help out on this too. I reached out to the town of DeWitt earlier this year, actually. Might have been the end of last year. And I know that they had put together a what they call the Sierra Renewable Club Energy Pledge, which actually is a lot of the things that you're talking about that they put together that would be implemented over a 15-year period. And so this might be something, we always look at other things instead of reinventing the wheel all the time. And I know that they took this from something else and made it into their own. So we might want to look at that and make that into our own that fits this community, so it's something we could look at there.
Yeah, this year, I remember reading the Sierra Club about that, because I think the Sierra Club highlighted DeWitt as a case study for a municipality, which is great. And they really have done some incredible things. And I agree. I mean, I think honestly, there are going to be some people in our community who are motivated by the fact that it's about efficiency and it's about cost savings and sort of the economic benefit. And some people who are going to be really thinking long-term about environmental impact and how it will affect the actual quality of life for their children or whatever it is, or sort of how it will impact humans and other living beings. And I think either way, what I like about this pledge is that I think that it gets us literally on the same page. And I agree. I mean, at the Sierra Pledge, also, I personally think that the state is going to be expecting municipalities is going to reward in terms of grant support and every other kind that, anybody that's sort of trying to get ahead of the game and ahead of the curve on this. So I also think that it's a way to honor the fact that we don't always talk about sort of the fact that we live near an indigenous center of an indigenous community, and they talk a lot about the earth and have a lot of wisdom, and talk about Onondaga Lake, and there'll be all these conversations in our community. And I would like to see us sort of reach back, and I sometimes think we talk about our land and our earth and our water from the town's founding, but actually we also love going to Green Lakes, and there's something that's a lot, that's been around a lot longer than the town. And so that idea of melding and thinking about what our responsibilities are, both from a governmental standpoint, but then also how we live in community together. I'm just excited about this day, being practical and then being aspirational too at the same time.
Yeah, it's a start. I think that's the key here,
And Chris, just clarify something too, because there's the climate smart communities with the DEC and then clean energy communities with NYSERDA. And it is very easy to get those things mixed up and cross them with each other. So I was hesitant to misspeak. I was right in my head, but Chris confirmed it for me. I'll just read what he indicated here. Once the town adopts the pledge, we become designated as a climate smart community. So we're designated as soon as we pass this resolution, should we pass this resolution this evening and adopt the pledge, we are a climate smart community. As we take the actions that I just mentioned, we become credited at different levels, bronze, silver, and gold. And certified communities, so once we start doing those different actions, we become a certified community rather than just designated. As we get certified, we get extra points. So when we apply for grants through the consolidated funding application grant program every year, we get extra points in certain grant proposals that we might submit to various state programs. So there are tangible benefits to the community in adopting this pledge, aside from just making the statement that this is what we believe, what we intend to do. It does provide a framework for where the community is going, and the DEC is going to be one of the leading agencies in the state, helping us to know what that path should be. I agree, Ed, that we should look at what's best for the town of Manlius, for our residents, for our community, and focus on those things. But this provides such a great framework for doing so. And as we engage in the comprehensive planning process, that will provide us with the opportunity to write a sustainability plan. What do we really want to do as a community? What do we want to focus on? What are our priorities? That will be integrated into that work. So this is a great start, and it provides the framework for community solar, for energy efficiency work at the town, which would save us money on both fronts. So we could looking at procuring electric vehicles for our municipality to use when we're driving around for codes enforcement or whatever it might be. Those are the types of things that long-term are really amazing for the environment. They help to mitigate climate change, and they're good for our town. They help to save us money. It helps to save our taxpayer dollars. So it's a win-win-win across the board. And it's just such a great step for us to be taking tonight.
And if we can
Mr.
get.
Supervisor?
Yes, Karen. Go ahead.
Yeah, just, there's a lot of information on the Climate Smart New York Gov website. And it's my understanding that after registration, Allison, one more thing for you to do, Allison, will be the contact person. And I did receive a couple of calls on this when people saw it on the agenda. And I just want to make sure that right now there's no time limit between the adoption of the pledge and this certification process. So, that's something that doesn't have to be done within so many days, or, there's time to do this, but there's a lot of information on the website for people to absorb and understand.
Yeah, if you want a ton of reading, I encourage you to go to the website there. Especially once you start clicking on some of the different actions you can take, you can get really into the weeds.
Yeah, and it is a voluntary recognition program, even though they use the word mandatory, it is a voluntary program.
And I was just going to say, I hope that we are able to get grants so that we could afford electric cars for the codes, because they're pretty expensive. I know the long term, there's a savings, of course.
Yeah, and they're not as expensive as you'd think. We'll talk, Ed. We'll look
Okay.
at EV procurement, okay? Well,
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just, one other thing real quick on the resolution, and it's just a minor thing, but it's just before the 10 community pledges there, the 10 elements, where it says it is hereby resolved. I would just like to say that we make sure we put that the town of Manlius board, comma, in order to reduce greenhouse and adapt to, that this is coming from us.
Correct, the town board.
Board, right. I just wanted to insert that there.
Okay. Should I go ahead and read it then, Ed, do you think?
Sure, yeah, why not?
So I'll skip all of our names. I'll just jump to we all know who we are. Whereas the town of Manlius believes that climate change poses a real and increasing threat to our local and global environments and is primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels. And whereas the effects of climate change will endanger our infrastructure, economy, and livelihoods, harm our farms, our orchards, and ecological communities, including native fish and wildlife populations, spread invasive species and exotic diseases, reduce drinking water supplies and recreational opportunities, and pose health threats to our citizens. And whereas we believe that our response to climate change provides us with an unprecedented opportunity to save money and to build livable, energy-dependent, and secure communities, vibrant innovation economies, healthy and safe schools, and resilient infrastructures. And whereas we believe the scale of greenhouse gas emissions reductions required for climate stabilization will require sustained and substantial efforts. And whereas we believe that even if emissions were dramatically reduced today, communities would still be required to adapt to the effects of climate change for decades to come, it is hereby resolved that the Town of Manlius Board, in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to a changing climate, adopts the New York State Climate Smart Communities Pledge, which comprises the following 10 elements. Number 1, build a climate smart community. 2, inventory emissions, set goals, and plan for climate action. 3, decrease energy use. 4, shift to clean, renewable energy. 5, use climate smart materials management. 6, implement climate smart land use. 7, enhance community resilience to climate change. 8, support a green innovation economy. 9, inform and inspire the public. 10, engage in an evolving process of climate action. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the Town of Manlius shall complete the online registration form and upload the resolution by following the steps online to register with New York State as a climate smart community and be added to the online list.
Ta-da. I think you have to
Very good.
move, I think you have to move that, Caitlin, and then we can vote.
Okay,
Yes.
I just wanted to, did anyone have any questions or we good?
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think
I'd like
we're
to make a motion that we, pass or adopt the resolution to become a climate smart community.
Wait a second.
I'd like to
I'll
second.
second.
Okay.
Let's let Elaine do it. She's on my Sustainable Manlius
There
Committee.
you go, Jen. Go ahead, Elaine.
Oh, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very good. Thank you.
And I have it in,
Yes.
that we might be the 300th or just above the 300th community in New York State to pass the and pass the pledge and adopt this resolution. So we are we hit a nice round number today.
On Earth Day, too.
On Earth Day, no
So
less.
I can't wait for in 50 years from now, we'll be talking about
You'll still be town supervisor.
Boy, okay.
Just keep running. Just keep running.
Oh,
Yeah, do those whatever those throwing machine things are that you do.
Kettlebells.
Oh boy, let's not go there. All right, very good. Very excellent job, everyone. A lot of information, and I'm very happy that we have set this resolution up to get the ball rolling here. All right, so let's, okay, that's okay. So now we're in correspondence. Rob, do you have anything for us tonight?
I'm actually good, Ed. I just want to mention today we had 4 inches of snow up on the hill in Manlius, so I'm hoping April 22nd is the end of it. Tim told me we're done, so I'm going to take and hold him in his words. So hopefully we can get these trucks ripped down and moved into the construction season here, hopefully. So other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Very good. Randy, Doug, do you have anything you both are working on at all?
I just got a couple quick things, Ed. We've been getting undated phone calls and emails from contractors wanting to know if they can work, they're able to work, the parameters the governor set, et cetera. So we've been dealing with that. We're still continuing to do inspections on legal projects. So that's still continuing. But we do have one that I received a call from 510 Town Center. It got moved to the urgent. So it went to the top of the list, and I just finishing up the plans. It was a request from Marola Summit, and it's for Upstate Medical Center for their internal medicine. So they're going to be dealing with blood work and stuff over there. So that project will be happening probably next week. And you'll see a bunch of workers over there, but it is considered one of the essential ones for the governor. So if any of the board members receive phone calls on that, they're perfectly legit to be over there and doing that.
Okay.
But other than that, all set.
Yeah, very good. I know that we have had a couple of, I've received notifications actually from county executive's office on a couple of things. I know both for codes and I think for some businesses, Chief, I think I sent some stuff out, which they've all been taken care of and handled that I'm aware of. Right. So
Randy, I just want to thank you for attending to all of our residents. I received a phone call this afternoon. A resident sent an email to you, and within 5 minutes, they got a phone call back. So thank you for your diligence. It's amazing. They were quite impressed.
very good. Doug, did you have anything?
A couple things. We did submit the annual landfill report. We submitted that electronically to DEC.
Right.
I see Deb is on as an attendee, and we're working with Deb and Rob on the annual MS4 report. Hopefully we'll have that wrapped up next week. And I know a few weeks ago, I did briefly speak with Heather about possibly looking at CFA opportunities. We've had good luck with that. And if anybody out there has any projects that you think are near and dear to your heart, let us know and we can get our funding specialists working on those as the deadline approaches. I'm hearing that it may get pushed back a little bit. But you know, some of the things Caitlin talked about with sustainability, there's a lot of low-lying fruit there that could be funded. We've had really good success with that with our clients in the past.
Good. Good. Very good. Tim? No?
I have nothing.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Allison? Was that a no, Allison? You're good? Okay. It's all right. Look down at unmuting. All right. And Chief, what do you have for us tonight?
Just trying to unmute here. I'm happy to say that through this horrible pandemic incident, your police officers in the town of Manlius are all healthy and doing well. No issues, which is good. I continue to reach out and have continuous conversations with all of our law enforcement partners and other associates with county health and offices of emergency management, and we seem to be doing really well, stable. And lastly, I just like to thank our community for all the tremendous amount of support that we received. Almost on a daily basis, we're getting words of encouragement and donations in the form of hand sanitizer, masks, you name it, we're getting it. So our community is quite tremendous in this really bad situation, and we're just so thankful. That's all I have.
Chief, are you in need of any type of masks or more, anything specific that you don't have?
Not at this time. Like I said, we're in continuous communication with the Office of Emergency Management, which continues to have their command post open and are supplying all of our first responders with all kinds of equipment that's needed. We're not quite there yet. We're still at a pretty high risk level, but we're doing really well with our equipment. And if we need anything, Office of Emergency Management has been there for us. So at this point, we're holding steady. So it's good.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, Chief, I'm going to commend you and your officers and command staff, and Rob, you too. You know, you guys been out there doing it all sorts of weather, which is, you know, is spring ever going to be here? And with this with the COVID-19, it just puts extra pressure and stress on everyone. So hang in there, we have your back, and just keep doing your best.
And
Yeah.
if I
Oh,
could
go
add
ahead.
one thing, I did hear from someone in the community that that they were very impressed with our highway department and how safe they're being. I guess someone in the community is related to someone that works there or something along those lines. But they said that they know a lot of the highway departments around, and that they've heard about the town of Manlius and everything we're doing, and that we're far and away that we're doing a really, really great job with our resiliency and as it relates to the COVID-19. So good job, Rob. Keep it up.
Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks. The guys have actually done, like, as Mike said, it's been a huge adjustment for all of us. You know what I mean? But we've kind of adapted with what the CDC has been requiring, and what the county emergency management services requesting us to do. So we've kind of all been working together here as normal for this type of situation. But thank you.
Well, I know, Rob and Chief, that the town of Manlius, other communities and municipalities look at us, and they measure up. They try to measure up to what we do, and that's a tremendous compliment to the job that you two are doing. So I just want to pass that along too. Ann, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just a couple quick things. I just wanted to report that we are working on the development of what we'll call a reopening strategy for when that happens. It's a respond, return, and reinvention. So we've responded and we continue. We plan for the return and potential reinvention of how we operate. So we continue, we're working, Allison and I are developing that right now, and we'll be reaching out to our department heads to further that. The other thing, this is sort of fitting for the next week or so. It is Public Service Week, May 3rd to 9th. So I do have a sample resolution that I'll pass on to the supervisor. I think, particularly right now, we could probably recognize many public servants that we have on our team and in our community. So I will forward that on, and maybe we can recognize everyone at the next board meeting. Thank you.
You and Allison are at the top of that list,
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ann, and look forward to that. And I know that you two have been working on, and we've had a lot of conversation about staying ahead of this reopening. And as you know, I've talked to a lot of the supervisors. We're all trying to get a handle on how this is going to play out in the next week or two or three. So we'll go around the table here. So Heather, do you want to start out, please?
Sure. I just thank you, Doug, for mentioning and for offering sort of that support on the consolidated funding application. I'd also say that we had a conversation because you had provided the draft of the Muirfield drainage study, Muirfield Road drainage study, and a smaller group of us have had a look at it and dug in a little bit to get a sense of it. And we realized that we should find an opportunity to get it on our agenda, and also really provide a lot of background and information for the public on it. So I have a memo that I'm sorry I haven't sent out yet, but I will send out to the group, capturing what we discussed, making sure that people can feed in, so that if there are additional things that you want to include before we get to that presentation, we'll be ready for that. And I'm sure it will be interesting to the residents. And I think it's very important for people to understand that, and you make this clear in the presentation and the project authorization part at the beginning of your study, Doug, but we're talking about how it's important to understand what exists and what's necessary for the topography and for the neighborhood we have, and have that clarity so that we can relate it to the requirements for any new subdivision like the proposed Woodland Hills one. So it does not take into account the site plan for Woodland Hills, except that it clearly states what's necessary and is a sort of up to the minute look at where we are, so that no guessing game needs to be done. So I think that's really helpful. And then we have a number of different ways we can proceed. So thank you also to Rob for working so closely with you on that. And it's that's looking forward to doing that together.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So what we've done in the interim is we've pulled all the record drawings for the Dolly Farms subdivision, like we talked. We've started looking at that a little bit of, what's going on there and, what type of opportunities we have there. The other thing that we should probably talk about is, I know last time we were together as a group, we talked about maybe taking that report. It was in a draft form that we were just trying to get some input from you folks. So we've taken the opportunity, even absent of your memo, to try to address some of the issues we talked about and, mark that document draft so that, if we want, we can get that up on our website to start to gather some input from people, and kind of go through the same exercise that we went through a couple weeks ago. So, offline, we can talk about that, how we want to proceed with that. But, we've been kind of pushing it forward along those lines.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll connect before I send
Yeah.
anything around. Great.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Heather.
Very good. All right, excellent. John, hopefully you're going to be coming across clear. So do you have anything for us tonight?
I don't have anything.
Okay, very good. I heard that, so that's a good thing. Elaine?
I'm all set, but I will be working on my sustainable actions on my bingo board, and I will be continuing to stay home.
That's good. Excellent, very good. Caitlin, you're up.
Mute. So I attended with Randy, and I believe Sarah and Elaine were also on it, the Stretch Energy Code meeting. They were supposed to come present. Actually, they were supposed to be there tonight. We were supposed to be getting the presentation right now, but had to reschedule or actually cancel. And they ended up just doing it remotely. And all the town boards from the whole region participated in just one session that they recorded. And a lot of it was a little bit over my head. I'm definitely not in construction because I did not know what they were talking about a lot of the time. But Randy is going to put together it. Randy, just whenever you can, no rush. He's going to put together a little bit of a memo on what they spoke about and help us to understand what the stretch code would do, how it would be beneficial to the town of Manlius to adopt that. Some towns have already done so, I heard during the presentation. So it would help our community to be healthier and to be more energy efficient, help our residents to save money on their tax dollars by adopting codes such as the ones that they mentioned. Randy, did you have anything you wanted to add now to what we heard yesterday? Or do you just want to write something up?
You have to unmute, Randy. Randy, unmute.
Mute. Press your mute button.
I'm new to this thing. Where is it?
You did it.
Okay. No, I'll get you a memo for the board, but what I'll do is possibly next meeting, I'll just give a quick 5 minutes on what the stretch actually is and how it's going to benefit the town to our advantage and to the actual homeowner's advantage on it, and along with the commercial buildings. So I'll write something up for you so you understand it a little bit better versus numbers and figures and so forth. So.
Awesome. And then maybe we can add that to our agenda for our next session. We can go over it at our next board meeting and then perhaps vote to adopt it if we're all comfortable with it. So I'll work with Randy on that and we'll get you some more information. And then, much like Elaine, I will be home with my 2 daughters and we will be working on our sustainability board. And we did clean up the yard last weekend and Aliana found $5. So, and I did not get on any social media, but I did in fact find $1 myself. So we're $6 richer for having picked up the yard. But one thing I wanted to mention, I meant to do this 2 weeks ago, but I had forgotten. I wanted to just applaud my colleagues that are parents and that are balancing staying home with their kids while managing the effort of running the town and all of our other professional responsibilities. So Heather, Elaine, Allison, Kay, this is, in myself, I applaud myself for crying out loud. It is no easy feat. And I'm so impressed by all of the mothers and the fathers that have just stayed above water. This has not been easy. And we're still running the town while running our households and running our families. So I wanted to just mention that I'm so impressed with all of you, especially Kay, because Kay texts me, because Kay and Allison and we all have kids in the same class at school. So Kay texts me whenever their teacher wants them to do something, because otherwise it wouldn't get done. So thank you, Kay, for helping to make sure my daughter does her homework. That's all for me.
Caitlin, that's such a perfect segue into really acknowledging the fact that today is Administrative Professionals Day as well.
Right. Yeah.
So shout out to our incredible colleagues, and and appreciate them along with our essential workers. I know how hard it is to be home and try to balance. I keep thinking to myself, oh no, if I couldn't do this in sweatpants, if I had to be out in the world, right? It's the only thing getting me through.
Yeah.
So I really, and all the pressures and frankly, all the pressures that come with being worried about folks that are getting sick too. So I really, thank you so much for saying that, Caitlin. And we're all literally all in this together, but apart.
Yes, we are. At all levels of family life, I can tell you that. Sarah, what do you have for us tonight?
I tried to unmute Allison and didn't work. So I have two things. One is I did go to a zoning training put on by the SU School of Law with the town of DeWitt, which was held virtually. It was supposed to be in DeWitt, but it wasn't. But it was really good, and the law students prepared some of the webinars. So it was a fun opportunity to see what the students had learned from reading minutes. So they had to make their case examples from what was in the minutes. So it tells you have to be clear in the minutes, or law students can't figure out what you meant later. So that was educational too. The other thing I wanted to say was I did became aware that it's been so long for people where this unemployment and the stimulus checks have not come in, weeks after employment money stopped coming for a lot of people. So I checked in with some of our local resources. The FM Food Pantry, Linda says that they can't accept food donations, but they are accepting money donations. They're getting very high quality food from the food bank because all the restaurants are closed and all their good food is going to the food bank. And so they have seen a significant increase in people asking, and don't be shy because you can go over there and just get totally Wegmans quality stuff from the food bank. Mary Ellen over at Meals on Wheels said they've had about a 75% increase in primarily seniors who wanted to do delivered meals rather than going out. And she said they've gotten a great turnout of unemployed people who are bored and want to volunteer. So they've actually got good help as far as delivering to those additional families. Heaven's Pantry in Minoa is usually open only once a month. Now it's open twice a month. And they also have seen an increase in families. And they will also deliver to individuals with disabilities who can't get out to come down to the pantry. And then the Manlius Senior Center is doing drive-by lunches. Instead of dining in, you can drive by and they will pass you a lunch through your window. And so families that are interested in that, you just have to sign up the day before to be in the count. And then you can swing by and pick up a lunch at the Manlius Senior Center. So I just wanted people to be aware of those opportunities. And we do want to make sure that during this unusual time when there's just no cash coming in, that our community is available to help.
Very good, Sarah. That's very good information.
Thank you.
Karen, I think you're up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that our recreation department is trying to run 3 programs in the spring, track and field, and I think, however, they would begin not until May 17th, and the registration wouldn't start until May 11th. The registration for any summer program has been pushed back to June 1st. So on their website or their Facebook page, they're putting out events to do every day for all of you at home with children that you can partake of. And I know the director is also looking into maybe even doing some virtual programs for this summer. So they're working hard behind the scenes, and we're all looking forward to getting out of quarantine. So that was a rhyme.
You're a poet and didn't know it, right?
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sorry, dad joke, I know. All right. I just had a couple of things. Sarah, I've had emails and texts and phone calls from small businesses and retired, well, not retired, 65-year-olds, so that are really having issues with the DOL. And I have reached out to the Assemblyman Sturpey's office on a lot of these things, and they've been very, very responsive in trying to work with these individuals. So it's a very difficult time for people right now, and let's hope that we come out of this pretty soon. As of today, with County Executive McMahon's report, the town of Manlius is up to 49 confirmed cases. And we have to remember that is out of a population of 32,000 plus residents. He did say that even though things are improving, the recovery line is above the new cases in the county. He just is so adamant that this is not the time to relax. And we just have to continue to take the measures we've been taking to try to beat this virus. Well, beat the virus. I guess we need a vaccine for that, but we can fight to not get infected. And I just encourage everyone, our residents, continue to do your part with your social distancing, and wear your mask when you're in public, especially if you need to go to an essential business to shop. And as a lot of you are doing, stay home and try not to leave unless absolutely have to. Just keep doing the things we're doing, and I think we'll beat this. So we just need to work hard and stay safe and get through this together. And that's our goal, and we'll do it. I know we will. So that really is all I have. So we need to, I think, go into executive session next. And can you help organize that, Allison, or someone?
So, hi,
We have a
I would like to
motion.
make a motion to go into an executive session.
Mhm. And that is for the engineering services RFP studies that we've received, right?
So I believe what the action is that we will all leave the Zoom call, and we will return to the Zoom call when the executive session is over.
Let me do an all in favor first.
I have a quick question though.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
For our executive session, we're doing a conference call?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna all hang up from this.
Yeah.
Call on our phones, Zoom back up. When we're
Yes. Yep. So we just walk away from the screen then?
Yeah, everybody go to wherever their phone
No,
is.
put it on mute too, I would suggest.
Everybody should mute and turn off their video. So we're still here, but
Did we make a motion,
No, we
Mr.
didn't finish the
Supervisor, to
motion.
close this
Yeah,
meeting?
let's finish the motion.
We need a motion to close this
Well, we
meeting.
go to the executive session. And
Okay.
we had the motion, and I think, who seconded?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, so now we mute and we make phone calls. Okay.
Stop your video and your sound.
We have returned. No one's watching.
Kind of a surreal experience to come back after executive session.
Wow.
All
It's
right,
sort of like-
here we are. And our
it's sort of like
attendees
what-
have abandoned us.
I know our attendees are gone. Is
Caitlin,
anyone
We want to get some local musicians to play. Do, do, do,
Caitlin.
do, do,
Yeah.
do.
Remember, it's
Just to
like-
play
it's
some
like the,
elevator music for us.
Hey, Caitlin, it's like what happens at the dining room table stays at the dining room table, right?
And the kittens have been managing all of this. I saw them sitting on my computer because why not sit on the computer while I was in the living room?
So Allison, I took the list of people who were watching. Did you get that for the minutes or would you like me to send that to you? You're on mute.
I would love for you to send that.
Okay.
It was a lot managing all the parts. So
Wow.
I'll send you a note and you can add that to the
Like
people
a
who
puppet show, you know. Here we go.
showed up. So this is us, the people who are supposed to be here.
All right. So,
We're missing Karen.
yep, wait for Karen and then we'll vote.
Where's Karen? Where did she go?
He has to just click back on.
Why did she walk away?
I don't,
I have sweatpants with my name on them, waiting.
I mean, we have a quorum, but
Did she know she knew we were coming back to Zoom?
yeah, I would think so. I'll text her real quick.
Bit to get back on.
Yeah, that's why I'm texting her. All right, so, okay, everyone's here. She was having some issues earlier and I think that, oh, here we go. Let me see.
Oh, maybe this is the other Karen, the one that wasn't working before.
This is.
Could be.
Because there were two Karens for a while.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
was very
Might be
confused.
our phone or something.
The other Karen. that
Okay,
is
she said, go ahead and make a motion. She's working her way back on, so we need a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Got
everybody.
through that one. Wow. Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
All right, good night. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Happy
Night,
Earth
night.
Day. Do your
Good night.
Birthday.
action.
Whose birthday?
I did not pick up trash today. It was too cold.
Earth Day.
Oh, Earth Day. They said birthday. Okay.
Earth Day.
Okay, good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.